The authorship of the Upanishads is mostly unknown. As a group, they are part of the Vedas, which are the sacred texts of the Hindu. Depending on who you ask, the earliest Upanishads were written around 800 BC, 200 years before Buddha began to teach. Others of the group may have been written as late as the 700s in the Common Era. Around 800 in the Common Era, there was a great Hindu scholar, Adi Shankara, who wrote comments on the 10 principal Upanishads, and for the most part, his commentary established the essential Upanishads and fixed a significant version of their text as well. As is the case with most faiths, the Upanishads were passed down orally within families and within kingdoms for hundreds and hundreds of years before they were written down. But as is not the case with most other world scripture, the Upanishads are not stories about the origin of a group of people, and they are not stories about how the gods favor certain groups over others. They are highly philosophical treatises illuminating the Indian genius as it flourished under the guidance of scholars and philosophers who were supported by appreciative royals. Besides establishing Hinduism, the Upanishads also lay down the philosophical and spiritual groundwork for Taoism and for Buddhism. The Bhagavad Gita was written around the middle of the span of time over which the Upanishads were created, and it is probably most properly considered one of the Upanishads, despite the obvious Buddhist concepts within it. Some scholars, among them Joseph Campbell, have suggested that the Isa Upanishad, traditionally placed as the first book, may be based upon an oral tradition of extreme antiquity, perhaps wisdom from before the last ice age, perhaps wisdom from 25,000 years ago. If that's too extreme, the Upanishads are clearly some of the oldest sacred texts in the world. In his introduction to the Penguin Classics edition, the brilliant Juan Mascaro writes that, quote, "Amongst the sacred books of the past, the Upanishads can be called, in truth, the Himalayas of the soul." He goes on to say, quote, "The composers of the Upanishads were thinkers and poets. They had the vision of a poet. And the public knows well that if poetry takes us away from a lower reality of daily life, it is only to lead us to the vision of a higher reality, even in our daily life, when limitations give way to the joy of liberation." Let me give you a sense of the Upanishads by reading to you from the Isa Upanishad. These opening lines are some of the most famous in all of the Upanishads. "Behold the universe in the glory of God, and all that lives and moves upon the earth. Leaving the transient, find joy in the eternal. Set not your heart on another's belonging. Living in this way, a man may wish for a life of 100 years. Only actions done in God do not bind the soul of man. There are demon-haunted worlds, regions of utter darkness. Whoever in life denies the spirit falls into that darkness. The spirit, without moving, is swifter than the mind. The senses cannot reach him. He is ever beyond them. Standing still, he overtakes those who run. He moves, and he moves not. He is far, and He is near. He is within all, and He is outside of all. The man who sees all beings in his own self, and his own self in all beings, loses all fear. And with that, my friends, we suggest a copy of this book belongs on your shelf.